What's up, guys? Carolina Jackpot checking in. It's July 22nd, 2018. I'm going to go over the teams in the American Athletic Conference tonight. Their Las Vegas win totals for the 2018 season, the over-unders, and tell you what I think they're going to do, and whether you should take the over or you should take the under on these guys. The American Athletic is one of your top conferences in that group after your Power 5 teams. I would say them in the Mountain West seem to have the teams that have the potential or the most potential to knock off Power 5 teams on a regular basis. So let's just jump right into this. They don't really go in any certain order. Not going by divisions here. They do have these teams split into two divisions, but that's not the way we're going to do it. I'm going to start off with the Cincinnati Bearcats. They've got them at 4 wins in the 2018 season. Looking over their schedule, it's not that bad. They do have a new running back and new quarterback this year, 5 return stars on offense, 7 on defense, so they should be better there. They gave up 32 points a game in 2017, which is pretty bad. They were 4-8 last year. The schedule, they got a road game with UCLA to start it off. That's Chip Kelly's first game as UCLA's coach. Don't see any way they're going to win that one. But some of these other games, they're manageable. They have Miami of Ohio at Paul Brown Stadium where the Bengals play, which would be basically a home game for the Bearcats. I think they're going to win that one. Everybody's saying that Miami is be one of the better teams in the MAC conference this year. I think they'll take that. They have Alabama A&M at home also. I think that should be a win. They do get Ohio University, the Bobcats, at home. That may be a tough one. That might be a loss. But, we've got games at Connecticut. That's a winnable game. They have a game against East Carolina, which is a winnable game at home. So that's 4 games right there that I think that they should win. And, find an upset somewhere else. Just find one. You've got Tulane at home. That's winnable. You're at SMU. That's winnable. Some of the other ones are a little bit tougher. Navy and South Florida at home, I don't think you're going to win those. At UCF, I definitely don't think you're winning at UCF or at Temple. But some of these other ones I think are winnable. Cincinnati's improving. Luke Fickell, that's the second year here. They gave Michigan a fight last year. This is a program that's on the rise. They've been good in the past, and I think they can be good again. I'm going to go on ahead and take the over on the Cincinnati Bearcats. I think they're going to win more than 4 games this year. UConn, the Huskies, were 3-9 last year. One of those wins, they did upset Temple, which at the time did not really look like an upset win because Temple wasn't doing all that great. But as the year wore on, it looked a little bit better and better. Temple turned out to certainly be a really good team last year. They do return 7 starters on offense, so it should be improved there. They do have to replace their quarterback and running back. They're got 2 returning starters on defense. That's it. They gave up a ton of points. Their non-conference slate is kind of tough. They're at Boise State and at Syracuse. You'd say, well, at Syracuse is not really a tough game, but for one of these teams in the American Athletic Conference, certainly it is. It's a tough slate for them. This team, they've got Rhode Island and East Carolina, which should be wins for them. UMass is a game that's a maybe. But, a lot of these other teams, UCF, no. Boise State on the road is a definite no. They're not beating Syracuse. I don't see them beating Cincinnati. At Memphis. On the road at Tulsa. Tulsa's going to be improved this year. We'll talk about them in a minute. I don't see it. I don't see a third win there for this team. I just don't. I think that they're headed in the right direction. They're recruiting well at UConn, but I don't see them being able to pull off more than these 3.5 wins. I don't see them getting to 4 wins. I could possibly see 3, but 3.5 to 4 is not happening. So we're going to take the under on the UConn Huskies for 2018. Tulane, 5.5 wins. You got a lot of people that are kind of high on the Tulane Green Wave headed into this season. They performed fairly well last year. They were 5-7. Willie Fritz, he's a pretty good coach. The guy came from Georgia Southern. They got 9 returning stars on offense, 5 on defense. Just looking at their schedule, I see wins at home against Nicholls State. I see them beating Cincinnati on the road. I see them getting that win at Tulsa, and I see them beating East Carolina. The rest of their schedule, it's kind of tough. Wake Forest at home, they're not going to win that game. Wake Forest is a Power 5 team, and yeah, they're not, a team that has you shaking in your boots. But Wake Forest is a good team, especially offensively, and they'll be ready to play. They are not going to win against Wake Forest. It doesn't matter if they play at home, in Winston-Salem, or on the Moon. The Deeks are winning that game. They're at UAB. UAB is a team that could win Conference USA this year, and that's on the road. Do not see them winning that game. They're definitely not winning at Ohio State. Let's just not even talk about that. Memphis, no. SMU at home, possibly. On the road at South Florida, no. At Houston, no. A Navy game at home, no. I just don't see it. There's too many toss-ups there. There's too many toss-ups there for Tulane. I think they can have a good team. I think they can actually be better than last year's team. But I don't see them being able to pick up that 6th win. I don't see them being able to see it. I see them as being 5-7 again this year. Just looking at that schedule, it's kind of tough. I'm going to take the under on Tulane this year to not get the 5.5 wins. Temple, 6.5 wins. Let's get into the Owls here. They returned 6 starters on offense, 6 on defense. In 2017, they started slow. They started really slow. They finished the year pretty strong. They won on the road, not on the road. It was a home game against Navy. ESPN game. I think it was on a Thursday night. It kind of got everyone kind of looking at them. Their defense should be really good. They were 2nd in the American Athletic Conference in 2017. They've got a solid quarterback, Frank Newtile. This will be his 2nd year as a full-time starter. Have a running back named Raquel Armstead. I believe that's his name. These guys, they're potent. They had one little rough year there, a little rough patch. Matt Rule was their coach that went to Baylor after the 2016 season. Jeff Collins, coach there now. They really have a whole year. It was a rough stretch. It's just a few rough patches there at the start of last year. They started off the season, with a 2-3 record, but win at home against Villanova, real close win at home against UMass, teams that you'd think they would kind of beat up on a little bit, and things were looking down. They lost to South Florida 43-7, but then here they come back, beating up on East Carolina. They get that win against Navy, got a win against UConn at Tulsa. So Temple and then won a bowl game last year also. So this team is built to win more than what they're at. They're 6.5 wins. Looking at that, they got games at home against Villanova and Buffalo. I think they'll take both those. I think they can beat Tulsa at home and East Carolina. And they can beat Cincinnati, and then I think they can win at UConn. That's 6 wins right there. Those are sure wins as far as I'm concerned. And they can get one more. They have games on the road against Power 5 teams, Maryland and Boston College. Neither one of those Power 5 teams is guaranteed to beat Temple. If they could beat either one of those guys, I would think it's going to be Maryland. especially because they have questions at quarterback. I think Boston College is a little bit better of a team than Maryland. The home game against South Florida that's a winnable game for them. South Florida is not going to be as good this year. They've just lost too much talent at the skill positions. And also this year for South Florida, you'll kind of see what the Willie Taggart effect is. If they can come back with the loss of Quentin Flowers and Darius Tice, really good skill guys, and get those guys replaced, then Florida State might have something to really look forward to in the future with Mr. Taggart. If he can do that. If they fall apart, his recruiting's looking kind of shoddy because he's responsible for all that. But I think Temple is going to get past these 6.5 wins. I think they're definitely going to win 6. I think they'll find a 7th win somewhere and maybe an 8th or 9th win and could be a contender for the American Athletic Conference Championship. We're going to take the over on the Temple Owls. Tulsa Golden Hurricane. Really not a good team at all last year. In fact, I think they only won 2 games. Yeah, they were 2-10 last year. So that was a pretty rough year for them. They got them 4 wins this year. They're returning to 8 on offense, 7 on defense. Had a lot of key injuries last year. And if you'll look at their schedule last year and how they finished up, they had 5 losses that they only lost by 7 points or less. At Toledo, which was a really good team, they lost 54-51. They lost to New Mexico, a pretty decent team, 16-13. Navy was fairly close. It was 31-21 loss there. They lost to SMU like 38-34. 27-20 at South Florida. So Tulsa has some talent. We can definitely see they should have won more than just 2 games last year. Luke Skipper is their quarterback there. He should do some good things for them this year. And the schedule is manageable this year. It's definitely manageable. Central Arkansas, we're going to take that as a win. They got Arkansas State in week 3. I think Tulsa wins this game. Arkansas State is a good team out of the Sun Belt, but these American Athletic teams should have just a little bit more talent. Their talent level should be a little bit higher than the teams in the Sun Belt. So we're going to take Tulsa there at home to win that game. They got Connecticut. That's another home game. South Florida at home, it's a winnable game. Even at Houston, you can look at some of these. They're all winnable games. Tulane at home is a winnable game. SMU is a winnable game. I definitely see Tulsa winning more than 4 games this year. I'm going to take the over on these guys and watch out for Tulsa. They could be one of the surprise teams this year in college football. They've been to bowls the past 10 years more often than not. And I think last year was really just a little blip on the radar screen. And they're going to get back to form this year. East Carolina, next one up on board, 3 wins. That's what Vegas has them with this year. Not a lot of confidence there in the Pirates, and kind of with good reason. They had it pretty rough last year. They've been pretty bad the past few years, to be honest. Since Ruffin McNeil left there, it just hadn't really been the same team. Returning 5 stars on offense, 7 on defense. They do have a new defensive coordinator. This guy came from Jacksonville State, FCS school that has a good defense. So look for that unit to improve. They got to replace their quarterback. The nucleus of the running backs that East Carolina is returning. They do have a tough schedule. Also, you got their game 1 is winnable, definitely at home against North Carolina A&T. We'll talk that up as a win. But the next 2 games, back-to-back ACC coastal foes, North Carolina at home and at Virginia Tech. I don't see them winning either one of those games. If I was to say they could pull an upset against one of them, certainly would be UNC at home, but I don't think they're going to win either one of those. They'll probably start 1-2. But you got the North Carolina A&T game, which should be a win. Old Dominion at home on September 29th. I think that's going to be a win for them. And they've just got some toss-ups here. At Tulane, UConn, at Cincinnati. All those games are toss-ups to me. They've got them with 3 wins. I'm going to take the over on East Carolina. I think they're going to get more than 1 win out of those toss-ups. I think this is a team that they're offensive-minded, and I think they're just going to get better. I don't see East Carolina being that down for this many years in a row. So I'm going to go on ahead and pick East Carolina, the Pirates, to win more than 3 games this year, and I think Scotty Montgomery will get maybe a little bit of a new lease on life this year. He's probably definitely one of the coaches on the hot seat. They got Houston at home, South Florida, Memphis at home. Most of their tough games in Conference the American Athletic Conference, are at home. So that's another good thing for the Pirates this year. Houston Cougars, they got them at 7.5 wins this year. And looking at the Cougars, you got to think the number one thing you got to talk about there is that guy on the defensive line, Ed Oliver, beast up front. They're returning 5 on offense, 5 on defense, 7-5 last year. This guy probably going to be a number 1 draft pick. That's just how it is. Potent on the offensive side of the ball. They do enough to get the job done. Quarterback De'Eric King, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Terrence Williams. Running back, both a lot of good skill players there. Major Applewhite does a good job with Houston, and I think they're definitely going to be a really good team this year. Looking at their schedule, a lot of winnable games here. At Rice, even at Texas Tech, I think it's going to be a win. Texas Southern, that's 3 wins. Tulsa at home, at East Carolina, at SMU, and Tulane at home. I think they got to 7 wins right there. And, just got to find one somewhere. Those are confident wins. And just got to find one more win somewhere. They do play Arizona at home. That's going to be a tough team this year. Kevin Sumlin takes over there. When you get a new coach in one of these teams, they kind of get rejuvenated a little bit. I think Arizona might be pretty good with Khalil Tate there and Sumlin taking over. I think Sumlin's a good coach. I just don't really know what happened to him at Texas A&M. I don't think they're going to win that game against Arizona. They did beat them last year, but at Navy and South Florida at home, once again, South Florida is another team. I don't know how much faith I got in them. I'm going to take the over on the Houston Cougars this year. Pick them to win more than 7.5 games. The Navy midshipmen next up with 7 wins. Vegas predicts it. They're returning 4 on offense, 5 on defense. Their quarterback, Zach Abey, if you remember last year, led them to a bowl game and win over Army. They lost to Army. Sorry, scratch that. They're moving into wide receiver this year. And Malcolm Perry is going to take over the quarterback position. It's a little bit more skilled at the quarterback position than Zach Abey is, apparently. This offense still going to be potent. Ken Niumatalolo, I think I pronounced that right, has always got his team ready to score a lot of points. 7 wins for Navy. I'm looking at their schedule. They're at Hawaii. They have Lehigh and at SMU. I take those all 3 as wins. At Cincinnati, I will say is 4. Game against Tulsa at home, give them 5 wins. At Tulane, give them 6 wins. I think they're going to beat Army this year. That'll be 7 wins. Army's lost their quarterback, Ahmad Bradshaw. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. At 7 wins, you got a lot more to choose from here to give them that 8th win. At Air Force, that's one of those Commander-in-Chief's games. Could go either way. Temple at home. I think that's going to be the best chance to get that 8th win. Houston at home, be tough. At UCF, I don't think they're going to win it. They got kind of a tough schedule. They're playing Notre Dame this year. It's a neutral site game, and where is that game at? San Diego. Okay, that's kind of strange. I don't think they're going to beat the Irish, but I do think they win more than 7 games. So I'm going to take the over on Navy also. We've taken the over on a lot of these teams. Only UConn and Tulane is the ones I'm taking the under on. So kind of interesting there. Let's move forward with the American West. SMU, the Mustangs, coming off of a bowl season last year, and the last year with Chad Morris. Of course, he was only there a couple of years. Chad had, kind of rejuvenated that program a little bit. They were 7-6 last year. They returned 6 on offense and 8 on defense, which is, a lot. They're going to install a new system on offense. Going to go with that air raid type thing. Sonny Dykes is coach there now. I think the loss of Chad Morris is going to be vital. I think this guy was a good coach. I think he had him motivated and really kind of instilled a little bit of a winning culture at SMU, something that they haven't seen in years, since the 1980s, really, to be quite honest with you. But I don't see Dykes being the coach that Chad Morris was. I think they definitely downgraded in that category. No offense to this guy, but I don't see it. Or you kind of look at last year, that the bowl game. SMU had a pretty good regular season, finished up 7-5. They go to the bowl game, play Louisiana Tech. Think they would beat, and they just got absolutely boat raced. It was really bad. It was like 51-14 or something like that. So looks, I see SMU taking a step back this year. Looking at their schedule, they're on losses on the road at North Texas. I don't think they're winning that game. North Texas is going to be one of the best teams, if not the best team in Conference USA. TCU at home, that's not going to be a winnable game. At Michigan, no. Navy at home is a no. At UCF is a no. Houston at home, no. Memphis at home, no. That's a lot of losses right there. That's 7 losses already that I think I talked about. And some of these other games, these toss-ups could go either way. And I don't see them winning some of those too. They had Houston Baptist at home. I think that's a winnable game. But, that's out of their first 4 or 5 games, Houston Baptist is the only one I think is a sure win. They could start out 1-4 or 1-5. It's, I don't think this is going to be a real good team this year. I think they're going to have to kind of find their identity a little bit. So I'm going to take the under on the Ponies and look for them not to be as good of a team in 2018. Next one up, South Florida. Been a really good team the past few years. Willie Taggart and then Charlie Strong. He's in his second year at South Florida. I got them at 8.5 wins. They're going to be instilling some new stuff. They were 10-2 last year, but you got to look at what they lost. Darius Tice was really productive from the running back position. He was kind of a hybrid type player. Quentin Flowers also dynamic quarterback. This guy was really, really good. They're replacing him this year with something called Blake Barnett. I don't know if Blake Barnett's going to be another Quentin Flowers. I just don't see it. Just the name. I don't know. They're returning 6 other starters, though, on offense, 5 on defense. Now, Blake may be the next Heisman Trophy winner. I don't know. I'm just going off of how I feel here. They lost most of their stars, like I say. Tyree McCants is one of their wide receivers that's returning that people may have heard a little bit about him. 700 yards last year of receiving, but there's a lot of inexperience here. And looking at their schedule, you got a game, their opening game against Elon. Obviously, that's going to be a win. Game 2 at home against Georgia Tech. I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna lean towards Georgia Tech in that one. That option offense can really tear you up if you're not ready for if your defense is just not that great. And I don't see South Florida's defense being all that great. I think they'll take a loss there. And I think the game at Illinois, which is week 3. It's actually going to be played at Soldier Field home with Chicago Bears. That's not a sure win either. Illinois was a really bad team the past few years in the Big Ten, but they're improving. I see them on an upward trend. I see South Florida kind of on a downward trend. But I would give them the win there. I would say South Florida will probably win that game. Ones I think are sure wins are Elon, East Carolina at home, at UMass. I think UMass will be a formidable team. They got some experience returning on offense too with their quarterback and a few other guys, but I see South Florida winning that one. At Tulsa, it would be their 4th win. The game against UConn, 5. Tulane at home is a 6th win, 7th win at Cincinnati. Some of these other games, though, UCF at home on a Friday, at Temple, at Houston. Can we call those sure wins? I don't think so. 8.5 wins, I think, is a stretch for this team with all the experience they have. So I'm going to take the under on the USF Bulls. I think they're going to finish somewhere with between 7 and 8 wins this year, which is still a good season. But I just don't see them enjoying the same success that they did under Mr. Flowers. They're going to have to kind of build up the skill position stuff before I can root for them much heavier. Memphis, 8.5 wins. Now, this team was really good last year. It went 10-3. I got to replace quarterback Riley Ferguson and wide receiver Anthony Miller. They have a running back named Darrell Henderson who rushed for over 1,000 yards, and Patrick Taylor, I think is his name, over 800 yards. So they're a really potent team on the ground. I don't think that a lot of us would have really known that. But Memphis, looking at their schedule, you got Mercer at home in week 1, which is going to be a win. At Georgia, or not, home game, against Georgia State, South Alabama, those are wins. At Tulane, I think they're going to win. UConn at home, I think, is a win. East Carolina at home, and Tulsa, and at SMU, I think those are all wins. That would give them 8 right there. And then you have the ones I give question marks to are Houston at home, at Navy, and UCF at home, and then at Missouri. Interesting game, October the 20th. Right in the middle of the season, they play Missouri on the road. Missouri likes to do that for some reason. Their schedule just like this every year. They're playing a team from a non-Power 5 conference at home right in the middle of the season. I don't think that's an automatic win for Missouri. I think they could take a loss to Memphis. Memphis knocked off UCLA last year in the Liberty Bowl. It's not inconceivable at all to think that they could beat Missouri. That would give them 8 wins, just talking about the ones that I think are pretty much chalked up wins that I believe they'll get. We just got to find half a win somewhere in between 4 games. Yep. Go ahead and give them the over. Take Memphis to win more than 8.5 games. And the last team on the board is probably the one that will be the best. Once again, UCF, the Knights. Last year they were undefeated, finished up the season 13-0. I think everybody knew they were going to be good before the season started. I don't think anybody thought that they would be 13-0. It certainly proved out to be really good for Scott Frost. He landed a great gig at his alma mater back at Nebraska. So they're returning some talent too. 6 on offense, 6 on defense. That quarterback they got, Mackenzie Milton, this guy is legit. He's the truth. You have never seen him play. You need to do yourself a favor and make sure you watch a few UCF games this year because this guy is dynamite. 4,000 yards last year through the air, 37 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions. They're returning their top running back and their top 2 wide receivers. Do we need to say a lot more? Of the starters that are coming back to UCF, the most productive ones, they're back again. Josh Heupel was offensive coordinator at Missouri, so definitely he knows how to win. I don't think they're going to fall off much there. As far as coaching goes, we'll definitely see. But I think this is a team that's built to last for a while. Looking at their schedule, they're opening up at UConn, South Carolina State. I think those are both winnable games. Definitely. SMU at home, I think, is a win. They're at East Carolina, I think, is a win. Navy, Cincinnati, at South Florida. I'm picking them to win all these games that I'm rattling off here. Some that I think are kind of iffy. They go on the road to North Carolina. I think North Carolina is going to be an improved team this year. I don't think they're going to be, ACC coastal contenders. And they also have a game a couple of weeks later at home against Pittsburgh. It's also an ACC team. I don't see UCF beating both of those ACC teams. I just don't see them beating both those ACC coastal teams. If I have to pick one, I'm going to take them to beat Pittsburgh at home. I just think that that UNC this year is going to be better than Pitt. I think Pitt plays a little bit more of a slower type game, and that's a home game for them. That's a tough place to play. The Bright House Network Stadium, or whatever it's called, in Orlando. I think that Pittsburgh's going to go down to them. But North Carolina, Kenan Stadium, when it's full, that's a tough place to play. So I don't see UCF. I don't see them getting a win there. For some reason, I just don't see them winning at UNC. I think that's their first loss of the season. They have Florida Atlantic at home on a Friday night. I don't know how this game was planned out. When it was probably scheduled a few years ago, I don't think anybody knew that it was going to be Lane Kiffin versus Josh Heupel. It's got a lot of hoopla surrounding it now. I don't think they knew that back then, but I look for UCF to get the win there. I think that'll be a heck of a shootout and a really good game, really entertaining to watch. It's a Friday night game. I'm definitely tuning into that one. At Memphis is another possible loss for this team. Looking down the rest of the schedule, I'm having a hard time finding another loss. I think they're going to win the rest of these games, and I'm picking UCF to go over the 9 wins. I think it's going to be an 11-1 or 10-2 team at the end of the regular season. So that's it, guys. That's my prediction for the American Athletic Conference teams for 2018, the over-under. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. How many of them am I wrong on? How many of them am I right on? Are my opinions good? Or my opinions not that great? Just let me know. I'm interested. I want to hear your feedback. Thanks. I appreciate it. And next conference up on the chopping block will be the Mid-American Conference, I do believe, sometime within the next week or so. I appreciate y'all. Peace. I'm out.